Okay, for the second half, we're going to look at the absolute value inequalities. So the way you're going to graph these is, again, the first step is you graph the boundary line. And all the boundary line is just an equivalent equation. So you just replace the inequality with an equal sign. That's how you know how to graph the boundary line. With absolute values, what we're going to do is plot it with a table. So we did that before when we were graphing absolute value in section 2.6. So we're going to use these values just like we did before, and we're just going to take turns plugging them in. So absolute value of -2 is 2, minus 2 is 0. Then plug in the -1. Absolute value of -1 is 1, minus 2 is -1. 0, absolute value of 0 is 0, minus 2 is -2. Absolute value of 1 is 1. Absolute value of 2 is 2, minus 2 is 0. So those are the points I'm going to plot. Okay, so let's set that up here. So I have just a few x values that I'm plotting. So at the point -2, my y value is 0. At the point -1, my y value is -1. I have the point 0, -2, 1, -1, and 2, 0, right there. Okay, so I know my V shape is going to look like this and like that. I have to look very carefully at my inequality. Since it does have the or equal to, it's going to be a solid line. So draw a solid line. Remember, it's V shape, so it stops right there and then it turns around and goes in the other direction. Again, it's solid because I have the or equal to, and the arrows show that it's going to keep going in both directions. Okay, then I have to figure out where to shade. Okay, so the shading, I do the same test thing that I did up here. 0, 0 is not part of my graph, so I can test it. So test 0, 0 is 0 for y greater than or equal to the absolute value of 0 minus 2, question mark. Okay, so is 0 greater than or equal to 0 minus 2 is a -2. Okay, so is 0 bigger than -2? Yes, it is. Okay, so since that was true, 0, 0 is part of my shaded region. So that means you shade everything kind of like above / inside the absolute value graph. So it's going to look something like that. Now, we didn't see a false example on the notes, but remember that could happen. If this comes out to be false, what you do is you shade the other region. So instead of shading this region, I would be shading everything below. So keep an eye out for those false ones too. Okay, that's your last video for chapter 2.